What's up, guys? Lake Eufaula recap. As I'm sure so many of you guys tuned in on ESPN2 this week to watch that recap of Lake Eufaula, and gosh, what a slugfest that turned into be. And to be honest, guys, a lot of us really didn't expect that. We really didn't know. We didn't expect the cut weights to be that high. All we knew is there was a lot of fish in that place, and there was people catching them from 6 inches of water out to 30 foot of water. And that's how it shook down, and you guys saw it on ESPN2 and on Bass Live for 4 straight days. And big shout out to Bassmaster and ESPN for picking that coverage up. Guys, that's just absolutely huge for our sport and our industry. So, man, we had a blast with that. But like I said, none of us really expected it. And guys, my particular practice didn't go near as good as I really wanted to. I ended up finishing middle of the pack in the tournament. And man, those weights just kept coming in and kept coming in. There was such a big difference between a 15-pound bag and a 17-pound bag, and that's one bite. I mean, that was half the field seemed like was in that weight range, and that was just wow, just incredible weights. And I really believe that Lake Eufaula in Alabama might be one of the best bass fisheries in the U.S. right now. That place is just slapped full of them. But my practice, guys, I spent probably half of my first day up shallow. I was catching just about all of my shallow fish on a course of on a Spro popping frog, just that black one. When them fish are shallow like that, it's hard to put this thing down. I was kind of disappointed at the shallow bite. I didn't catch all my fish shallow. I was in an area that really had some big ones in practice. I really thought I could get a pretty good bag up shallow and then go out deep. So I had a big enough area up shallow. I said, well, if they do bite shallow every day, I can spend part of my day up shallow early and then move offshore deep. So I really didn't spend much more time shallow after that. Guys, I probably graphed with my Lowrance Electronics at least 8 hours a day. And these fish were not real easy to find, guys. In 3 days of offshore electronics, I only found 2 schools of fish. One of them had some great big ones in it. I did pull up on a school, grabbed a school, turned around and threw in there and caught like a 1.5 pounder and threw right back in there and caught one about 7. I knew there was some great big ones in that school. And then the rest of it was brush pile fishing that a lot of you guys saw. I literally just marked some brush piles and then rotated them in the tournament along with the few ledges that I had. So the first day of the tournament, I started up shallow. I spent probably 3.5 hours up shallow and only left out of there with 3. I think only one fish that I caught that morning on that Spro frog actually made it to the weigh-in for me. I called everything else out and caught so many fish out deep. But most of my fish were in that 18 to 25 foot range. I had a couple of offshore ledges, river ledges, channels that I was catching fish on, and then also a few brush piles. But day one and in practice, this right here, that Missile Baits quiver, just a green pumpkin, and I was dipping dyeing the tail chartreuse, and on just a 1/2 ounce stand-up shaky head. They were really chewing this thing in practice, and then the first day of the tournament they were as well. And I had a football jig on my front deck. This is the Missile Jigs flip out. Not the flip out, I'm sorry. This is the headbanger right here. It's a 3/4 ounce headbanger, black and blue. I started throwing this a little bit toward the latter part of day 2 and started getting a few bites on it, a couple of key bites, especially in brush piles and a couple on ledges too. So weighed in 15.2 the first day. I wasn't real disappointed when I was coming to the scales with that. You know, I figured, okay, I'll be 30th or somewhere around that range, but then the weight started dropping, and I said, oh my goodness. I was in 61st place with 15 pounds, 2 ounces on day 1. So day 2 came around, and I said, I'm staying offshore. I never went up shallow, and I threw the quiver around. They just did not want the quiver on day 2. I went an hour or hour and a half without a bite, and then I picked up that headbanger. by Missile Baits, and this is really what they wanted. I was actually stroking this jig. I was making real high hops and letting it fall, and what that was telling me is the fish were kind of off the bottom a little bit, and so got several key bites on this thing. Pretty much my entire bag on day 2 was on that headbanger football jig. I was actually throwing a green pumpkin, dyeing the tails for a little bit, and then I went to a black and blue because I think those fish started getting educated. They were seeing the same color over and over again. Went to the black and blue and started getting bit again. And you know, most of my fish were in brush piles, and you guys have probably seen a video. Day 1 I stopped on the last brush pile of the day that I had not fished all day, and I dropped one that was between 5 and 6. You know, she got stuck her good. She came up, I saw her come up in head shake. She came around, she jumped on the other side of the boat, survived that, and as you guys can see, I was getting in my seat when that fish just pulled off. It was just hooked wrong. You know, sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. But that was the difference. You know, I had a 2-pounder in my box that day, you know, so, you know, that would have probably given me somewhere in the neighborhood 18 pounds the first day, and I would have been in good shape to fish day 3. But you had to have that big bite, and that's just what I didn't capitalize on. But guys, caught a ton of fish. Just could not get that big bite that I needed consistently to get us up there. Guys, there were so many 2.5 to 2 3/4 pound fish in that lake. And it was getting that bite that was the 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 pound bites is really what you needed to really compete in that thing. And I just simply didn't get enough of them. But weighed in 15-12 the second day, just under a pound more. The weights did drop a little bit on day 2, so it moved me up from 61st to mid-40s. So I ended up finishing middle of the pack. You know, I'm not too terribly disappointed in the finish and in the fishing. I did drop that one key fish on day 1. That's the part that really hurts. You know, that one key fish, you know, was a cut buster for me. But all in all, I fished pretty clean. I fished pretty well. You know, I feel like I did the best that I could do, and based on the practice that I had, I wasn't too terribly disappointed, you know, with the practice versus that. No, I was really hoping those shallow fish on that frog would eat for me. Something happened to mine shallow. They just weren't up there anymore. Now, the water was coming up like 2 or 3 inches a day, which I thought would really keep them shallow, and it did for some people. But the area I was in, I was fishing a lot of different types of cover. Different type of cover than you saw a lot of the willow grass a lot of those guys were fishing. You know, I was fishing, you know, I was fishing more of a marshy type area, and something just happened to those fish, and so I never went back to them. I stayed offshore. But guys, a great tournament, incredible tournament. I really had a lot of fun because I caught a lot of fish in this tournament, and you got to be around them, and I was. Just getting that 1 or 2 key bites a day is what I was lacking to really compete to win this thing. But hats off to Buddy Gross. He is a rookie this year, but he is no rookie. You know, this guy is incredible offshore. He is very familiar with lakes like Lake Chickamauga and stuff, so he said that was in his wheelhouse, and man, hats off to him. He did an incredible job there, along with a lot of other guys. So, I mean, that's it. Lake Eufaula, I had 2 days, almost 31 pounds, or a little 31 something, that I weighed in 2 days. Finished middle of the pack, got some decent points, guys, because I bombed the first one of the season. So any points to head me in the right direction, I'll absolutely take it. But next stop, upstate New York, 3 of them. We have Cayuga, St. Lawrence River, Lake Champlain, and we got 2 weeks off, and then St. Clair, Michigan. I'm a South Louisiana guy, but I have an absolute crush on those big brown fish, so I'm really looking forward to getting up to upstate New York. I just have so much fun catching those big smallmouths, so I'm really ready to get up there, and I've got a lot of confidence going up there as well. But guys, thank you guys for all the good lucks and the reaching out and the texts and the messages. Keep those coming, because that really is what fuels me. So appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, shoot it in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you. But guys, thanks a lot, and so we're getting ready to hit the road again here in a couple of weeks, and and get back at it. So hope everybody enjoyed watching. Dream big. See y'all later.